and welcome to a rather unhealthy edition of the Oddity Archive. Back in September, I did an Ask the Archive live stream in which I stated,
speaking of PAL, I've been trying to get my hands on some PAL off-air tapes and take care of those on my multi-system VCR and try and do an American perspective on the European stuff, but it hasn't happened yet.
Well, shortly after that rather glitchy live stream, I managed to score, via Fleabay of course, a box of 17 presumably off-air VHS tapes from England. And this sent me down one of those distinctly Archivian rabbit holes, albeit much more on the tech end of things than I had initially planned. So with that, today's episode is going to be one of my little pseudo-documentary affairs, albeit one of my more maddening ones. And let's get to it. Upon the arrival of my box of British tapes, my excitement quickly turned to abject horror when I found that about half the tapes in the box had some pretty serious mold growing on the tape itself. Given the close quarters of the tapes, and that they'd presumably been all together for many years, I knew the odds of all the tapes being contaminated were very high. Now, had these been commercially released tapes, I would have just chucked them in the garbage and set about finding other copies. But not only were these not factory pre-records, a lot of the tapes had titles too enticing to pass up. So I went to see how much a used Tape Check VHS analyzer / cleaner would run me. Tape Check being a professional tape cleaning machine, which is still made today. New ones go for about $7,000. To rent one, you're still looking at least $450. As far as good old Fleabay went, the one and only completed listing I could find sold for... So I set about seeing how much it would cost to ship the tapes out to a professional. The one and only quote I could get was for $100 per batch of 5 tapes, plus the shipping to and from Australia. After all the sticker shock, I decided to see if there weren't any home remedies out there, and there were. The most plausible solution I could find came by way of the Lunchmeat VHS blog. Their method involved a sacrificial VCR, Q-tips, lens cleaning cloth, rubber bands, rubbing alcohol, and a lot of patience. With this sucker, you're on your own. You have to provide your own conversion. One of the first Ben's Junk videos I ever did revolved around my old Hitachi multi-system VCR, which is a very basic unit. The sort where you have to have separate gear to output to NTSC, CCAM, etc. Oh yeah, and my unit's got an unreliable voltage switch, relatively weak output, and mono-only sound. I figured that if I was going to have to undertake the project of rescuing my moldy tapes, maybe I ought to check into a better multi-system VCR, which caused the project to go on an indefinite hold. After doing a little digging around online, the best-looking multi-system VCR appeared to be the Aiwa HV-MX100. Thing is, fully functional ones seem to go for anywhere from $300 to $600. But I decided to start a running Fleabay search for what would most likely be a fixer-upper, and like clockwork, 2 or 3 weeks later, I found a listing for a fixer-upper, which I picked up for $25, plus another 30-something for shipping. But here it is. This is indeed an Iowa HVMX 100. It dates to 1998, and it has about as many bells and whistles as you could hope for without going into full-fledged professional gear territory. But it hits the 4 targets that I wanted the most, one being stereo sound, and one being built-in video standard switching. So in other words, the machine itself can output, for example, a PAL tape on an NTSC TV, unlike the old Hitachi where I had to use a separate converter box. Then the third target was that the machine either runs only at 110 volts North American power or has a manual voltage switch. And then the final target being that the machine has a North American plug, so I don't have to use any adapters. Now, I failed to shoot any footage of this, but when I first got this unit, I just assumed it would be a tape eater, so I didn't even try to plug it in. I just went ahead and opened it, and I noticed right away that there was this big glob of yellowish goo on the head, you know, the main spinning head. So after finding a manual, I found that the goo was from a self-cleaning device built into the deck. Specifically, it was a little roller with some sponge attached to it, and the sponge had rotted away right onto the head during those automatic cleaning sessions. Yeah, it took a while to get the gunk off. And after all that, the deck decided to eat tapes. Who'da thunk it? Good thing I keep a stash of sacrificial tapes. But anyway, I've been dealing with VCRs long enough to know that there could be any number of reasons as to why a VCR will start eating tapes. But the 2 most common ones are a bad loading belt or a dirty mould switch. The mould switch being the thing that effectively monitors the VCR's basic functions, like is there a tape in the machine or not. But anyway, I ordered a new belt, and between other archive episodes, I started shooting a little documentary. But before we get to the documentary footage, here's a little montage of close-up pictures of the pertinent parts of this machine. Well, I don't know what I did, but I was able to get it to play. But it's come at the expense of anything on the screen being even remotely legible. Oh well. Just for jollies, let's see if it gives my tape back. Or if it understands stop at all. I guess I'll just try the remote then. Ah, there we go. And of course there's no eject button on there. You gonna give me my tape back this time? Alright, well, let's try it some more. Well, I can still make it play, but when I press the button, the whole screen goes blank. Ribbon cable seems to be good, and I also can't switch back to NTSC. I can do everything but. Fast forward. Rewind. Well, it looks like this guy got detached somewhere down the line, and that might be part of our trouble. I tried the ribbon cable, so I guess maybe I should just contact clean and possibly deoxit the hell out of this thing. Alright, let's test this. Well, I still got scrambled weirdness. Turn it on. And we still got a short somewhere. Actually, I'm gonna come out and call it a short now. Oh well, let's see if the tape still plays, if nothing else. Yeah, still success on that front. Fast forward, good. Rewind. Good. Well, I don't know what to say. Alright, let's try as close to a junker PAL tape as I've got. Let's get to something with some sound here. Oh, there we go. I got sound. Alright. Let's see if it'll still play nice to eject. I'm still a little leery of playing more rare tapes on this thing. Yeah. Guess that's a success. Alright, so I've done a little more on this. I've greased all the moving parts and gears. The thing was squeaking quite a bit. I still can't seem to do much of anything with the apparent short in the front panel. And I can't seem to pinpoint it, but knock on wood, functionally it seems to be okay. It's just not pretty. But anyway, let's see if all the lubing and I oiled the capstan, put a drop down in there. Let's see if that helps this perform any better. So far, so good. And we got picture. And it was kind of doing the wobbly thing yesterday, at least on American tapes, and this is an American tape, and so far so good. Let's see if I can't fast forward to something with sound. Still squealing a bit. Alright, we got some sound there. That's good. Nothing looks amiss. It's actually playing pretty clean today. Alright, I guess the real test is, well, I know the stop button doesn't work, so use the remote. Let's see what it gives me for eject. And no eaten tape. Transport's looking a little better. Well, that makes me feel a little better about this thing. Well, given the mold and everything, I had kind of planned to take this little endeavor outdoors, but it's 15 degrees out right now, and if the local news is anything to go by, we're not going to crack freezing this week. So I'm camped out in my very echoey, very bare, all concrete and all brick boiler room, and that's why I call it. It's the sump pump and furnace and all that. But anyway, I've set up camp in here. I'm going to try and do all this in here. The picture is probably going to be pretty dim. But anyway, before I do anything else, this little thrift store VCR of mine that I picked up, the only thing I've done with it so far was at the store, and that was taking a tape, putting it in, made sure it played and fast-forwarded and rewound and ejected, which it did. But I think, counterintuitive as it sounds, I'm going to clean this thing first, just in case there's anything nasty already on the main head. I know, again, that sounds very counterintuitive, but it won't hurt, if nothing else. But anyway, I suppose I ought to get started, huh? I think I'm going to take another pass at this, but given that the shell is so dirty, I'm actually going to try and clean this out first, then I'll gauge. Well, I guess I'll do it anyway, assuming I don't get all the gunk out just by manhandling it. Alright, end of day one. I started at about 10:30 this morning, and it's a little after 7:30 in the evening now. I've taken a few breaks, and I've gotten 5 out of my 17 tapes done. Ugh, this sucks. Well, that's the end of day number 2. That's the furnace running in the background. And I am up to 13 out of 17 tapes. I was really hoping to finish this today, but I guess it's just not in the cards. It's about 7:30 at night when I'm shooting this. I started at about 10:30 this morning. I've only taken 1 break today, and it's taken me this long, so only 4 more tapes, hopefully tomorrow, and if there's time, start looking at what's actually, on these suckers. So I'm gonna start packing up for the night here, and I've been packing these things in silica gel. It's not gonna hurt. Don't know if it's gonna help, but it won't hurt. So yeah, there's your status report. Alright, day number 3, and well, this is taking a lot longer than I thought it would, but we're down to the last 4 tapes. I really hope this is the end of it. And there's the last one. And not a minute too soon. Let me get this mask off, because I think the motor is going on this. But let's see, discounting brakes and all, this has been about 15 hours of labor. Now we got to see what's on them. Alright, I've got my expectations pretty low for these tapes. Something tells me that my handling them has not done it any favors beyond getting the mold off. So we'll see if this really is Thelma and Louise. And again, I have not seen any of these tapes. We can just hope it's nothing too awful. So I've got the computer going, and actually I'm going to go ahead and start importing. But yeah, first tape. And hopefully it detects the proper system. Okay, we got play. Oh, well. Here's something. It's actually playing better than I thought it would. I don't know my British shows, and I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, so whatever. Hey, I'll call it at least a partial success. Now to go through all these tapes and pick out the gems. As you already saw, I was pleasantly surprised by my handiwork. I mean, I was totally expecting all my tapes to just be one giant audio and video dropout. And while I certainly didn't quite get off scot-free on that front, things did go a lot better than I expected. So, yes, I have gone through all 17 tapes, and yes, I have some clips lined up for you here. But before I run those clips, here's what I know about these tapes, which isn't much. These were all recorded off of Manchester region TV stations. Specifically, I think these were recorded in or near Cheshire, so on the southern end of that region. And the clips on the tapes range in date from circa 1986 to 1998. Most of the tapes had commercials and or continuity intact. They were all off-air recordings. And, yeah, here's a few cherry-picked highlights.
The following movie has been classified 12, suitable only for persons of 12 years and over.
Monsieur Ferraud, I have a small problem with the free-range chickens you sold me.
Pourquoi?
I can't actually find them.
Les poulets?
Mais oui, les poulets avec les fluffy brown feathers.
Ici.
Ici. Monsieur Ferraud, it has not been easy.
Take a video recorder. You know, one with picture search, timer, programmable remote control, and a long play facility. Now, add a second deck, so you can record while you watch another tape, or tape two things at once. Finally, take a price of just £399. The result is the Amstrad Double Decker, the original two-in-one video recorder.
The moment for Ed the Duck's big chance of fame is fast approaching. He and Andy Crane will be along in 15 minutes with Children's BBC, including The Pantomime. Before that, here are two cartoons, starting with Good Little Monkeys.
All kind of things like how to lose those boyfriend blues with chocolate cake and karate at my pajama party. My pajama party.
International guys, here they are! Who do we have first then?
Alex is a Catalan man who's going to prove Latin lovers are lovely.
Oh, I see.
Wolfgang will show you girls that he's no wolf man.
Hello, welcome to Lifeline, the programme that brings you the latest charity news. With me in the studio, as usual, is Lynette Lithgow.
Hello. On Wednesday, January the 10th at 9:30 p.m. on BBC One, there'll be a special programme in the QED series called Sweet FA. It's the life story of a young man who suffers from a rare and little-known disorder of the nervous system, Friedreich's ataxia.
The new supermodel. The Vauxhall Corsa.
This week, play the Sun's new National Lottery, the only game with 6 appeal. You get 6 chances to win thousands. Pick up your Sun National Lottery game card, where you pick up tomorrow's Sun.
Gum disease is one of Britain's major dental problems. Look at the official facts. Nearly half of all children already have some gum inflammation.
McLean's was so concerned about gum health that they reformulated their toothpaste to include PA1, an antibacterial agent which fights plaque.
And she is going out with a man, we can reveal, this could be the father of her children, a man called Carlos Leon. He's only in his late 20s, she's in her late 30s. She goes jogging in Central Park in Manhattan almost every day when she's there, and she bumped into him in Central Park in Manhattan. He was cycling along apparently, and her chat-up line was, "Hey, I like your sunglasses."
With Saturday mostly dry and sunny, Sunday will bring rather more cloud across the region, but it should stay dry. And next week looks like starting with settled weather, with Monday and Tuesday mostly dry and bright.
Get
Get on the phone zone.
0077 232 232.
24-hour live party based in Manchester.
0077 232 232.
The best phone-in party ever. Phone zone.
0077 232 232.
Well, we seem to have a few moments in hand, so here's the full Monty. I believe in miracles. Since you came along, you sexy thing, whoa.
Auf die Perfektion aus Deutschland. Natürlich von Schneider. Oder was dachten Sie?
Superteam. Die starke Leistung von Schneider.
Von Schneider.
On here at Betzdorf.
Now, in case you couldn't tell, I only ran clips from a few of those tapes, and there's kind of a reason for that. About half the tapes in the batch were recorded on or around Christmas Day of varying years. And given that next week just happens to be Christmas week, I figured that I'd hold off on excerpting those tapes until then. You know, we'll do our usual Christmas stuff. We'll do some crap in there too, but yeah, it'll give you something to look forward to. But anyway, that's it for today's archive. Join us next time when, well, I guess I've kind of given it away already, haven't I? Now that I've got that episode over with, we'll get down to the real reason I bought that VCR. I tell you, those suckers that watch Oddity Archive think I'm so noble. There we go. Yeah. Suckers.